Curry here, Fantasy Football, RSVP. That's right. Fantasy football is continuing with the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. And it's actually going to be a pretty exciting, league. A little different rule changes. There's basically going to be faster games and less timeouts and only 2-point conversions. And these are just a few of the rules. No kickoffs. They're trying to speed up the game, and overtime is 1st and 10 on the 10, and you have to score and get a 2-point conversion, and teams don't do that, then it's a tie. And I think they've come up with some really good ideas, and I think it's going to work out great. It's 8 teams, 10-week season, and you can play fantasy football. You can go to ALT Fantasy Sports, altfantasysports.com, and they actually have a playoff weeks 9 and 10, same setup for the NFL on the various ESPNs and all that stuff. And it's a way you can continue fantasy football, and I really feel the league's going to work out. And there's a lot of former NFL players, and so let's get right to it with the draft for week one players and those types of things. I really like at running back Trent Richardson. He was a multi-purpose back. He could run the ball. He could catch the ball. He had some great seasons in the NFL. This is not the NFL. It's more of a developed professional league, but good former NFL players like Trent Richardson. In a situation like that, you got to think like, hey, maybe he's going to do a little bit better. He had some success in the NFL. With the Browns and Colts, I believe. And, he catches the ball, he runs it, he's a big back. The competition, I don't think, will be on the level of the NFL. But again, a lot of these guys are former NFL players, and college players that were really good. And it may take a little while to get off the ground. But when you take a player like Trent Richardson and you put him in that sort of situation, I think he's going to do really well. Another player, Denard Robinson, remember he played for the Jags, and he would catch the ball, run the ball, had some decent seasons, never got the full workload, but he did really well. And I really feel in a situation like this, again, he catches and runs the ball, and in all fantasy sports, you could play PPR and standard. So in a case like that, you like a guy who runs the ball, catches the ball, and things like that nature. And he was a very elusive back. I remember watching him play in the NFL. You also have for the Rams, you can go with Zach Stacy. Is a decent pick. He played for the Rams. He runs. He also catches the ball pretty effectively. And he's had some success on the NFL level, and he's still rather young. I remember he used to get injured a little bit, so you may want to, monitor expectations, because I don't know what kind of shape he's in. We're all going to figure these things out as we go. But apparently he's in good shape. And he should do well in this type of situation. I always actually wanted to see Zach Stacy getting a full workload. And I remember a couple of weeks back in the NFL years ago when he did, and he performed really, really well. So if you want one, extra, we have Akeem Hunt. I'm not naming all the teams. You could look up the teams that they play for. That's eight different teams. Denard Robinson plays for Atlanta. Trent Richardson plays for Birmingham. Normally, I just do these videos and I just talk about the players, and everyone knows who they play for. But I'll throw a couple of names out there too. There's a player running back you might want to take a look at, Akeem Hunt. No, he's not the Chiefs, former running back, Kareem Hunt. It's Akeem Hunt. And he plays for the Orlando Apollos. And, I've watched some video on him. He's really elusive, runs low to the ground, hard to tackle. He's also a guy that can be very versatile. at the running back position. And, I really urge all of you to, before you do your draft, go on YouTube, watch some videos of these guys. And, I know people say, oh, everyone's video reel shows them in their best light. But I can't tell you enough how many times I've watched players' videos, on YouTube from their college career or even NFL career. And, I watched videos and I got insight as to this player before he became a breakout player. I could see the way he ran, the type of way he, was tackled, the type of way he broke tackles, the way he ran routes, whether it's a running back, a wide receiver. And, I actually picked up a lot, and I could call out players that were going to be good, years down the road. So I advise all of you, these players that I'm talking about, watch some college tape on these players. See the type of player that you think they are, or runner. And, I'll be talking about that a lot today, because there are a lot of players that have very limited NFL experience in this league. And even when they were in the NFL, they didn't play that much. So it leaves you in a position to go back to college videos on YouTube and watch, some of these videos. And I watched, I don't know how many, over 500 just in the last week. Just video after video of these guys, and I really can see and develop an idea of how certain people are going to do. And I'm actually going to talk about that today, which is a little different than my normal podcast for the NFL. But you have to go with what you have. And for example, at wide receiver, I really like Kenny Bell. He had some issues in the NFL, off the field issues, and those really plagued him from having a fantastic career. But if you watch some of this guy's college, some of his college tapes, it's absolutely breathtaking. I mean, the way this guy can go up and actually catch the ball in traffic. He has good breakaway speed on long passes. I mean, watch his video in college, and you watch it and you're like, how is this guy not a star in the NFL? And he had a lot of off the field issues, and those types of things happen. So I would look into him. He's explosive, extremely athletic. Not the easiest guy to tackle, because he's very, he kind of jukes in and out, and he has some breakaway speed, and he has a bit of a nose for the end zone, if you know what I mean. So I would definitely look at him as a potential long threat. You have players like Stephen Hill, played in the NFL, Jets, few teams. Really good player, not bad, fast, and he really never got a great opportunity with the Jets. And even when he did, the Jets didn't have, he wasn't showcased a lot. He was showcased a little bit. He was never the number one. And you gotta look at these things, because Stephen Hill, I would watch this guy play when he played for the NFL. I was like, why is this guy not better? But it's also who's throwing the ball, the offense. Jets weren't a very good team. When he played with them, or they were kind of up and down, not good passer, quarterback. So you never know in situations like this that these guys are going to actually come in. He plays for the Atlanta Legends. You could look up the teams. I'm not going to keep naming every team these guys play for, but I'll name a few because it's kind of new. But a player you may really want to look at, and I think Kenny Bell's going to do really well, is Fabian Guerra. And he plays on the Express, the Memphis Express. He was the number one receiver, best player in the Arena Football League. And the Arena Football League is probably as close, not close, but as close as you're going to get in the Canadian Football League to the NFL. And there have been players that have come out of the Arena Football League and have done very, very well. In Adam Thielen, he didn't come from the Arena Football League, but Adam Thielen is someone I would compare to Fabian Guerra. I mean, he's got the same hands. He runs routes like him. I mean, this guy could catch it with his right and left hand. I've seen video of him like making one-handed catches, and he's like a slot receiver. Like, he just gets open. You know, he doesn't have blinding speed and those types of things. Like Thielen doesn't have blinding speed, but the guy can just get open. I mean, he positions. He's a great route runner, fantastic route runner, and he runs low to the ground. And what I mean by that is when he runs low to the ground, he actually, when he catches the ball, he's kind of tough to tackle because he's like, you don't always have to be fast, like run a 4.4 or whatever, the 4.440 or 4.3. Sometimes it's catching the ball and continuing. I know some guys jump, they catch the ball, they land, and then they have to start running again. This is a guy that catches the ball and he's in full stride and he continues in full stride. It's like he almost knows not to jump and keep low to the ground so he could catch it and move. And that's a different kind of fast. But he is elusive. I mean, I watched video after video of this guy, and I was just like, Adam Thielen, Adam Thielen, Adam Thielen. And so I really feel, good, about Fabian Guerra. I think he's going to be an absolute star. And, you have to also look, when you go into your draft, you have to also look at the coaches, because we have certain teams, the Atlanta Legends, Birmingham Iron, Memphis Express. These are all coached by teams like Mike Singletary, and these guys that have tremendous defensive. Tim Lewis, Kevin Coyle. They have had success, but they're defensive-minded coaches. And so you have to look at the offensive coordinator, and those types of things when you're making some of these picks, especially wide receivers. But, when I look at like a Steve Spurrier, do you remember the Florida Gators when Steve Spurrier was their coach? I mean, he was like the first, he was the first like coach that I felt really opened up the passing game. I'd watch Florida Gator games and I'm like, wow, this ball's flying all over the place. I mean, I was never like a Florida Gator fan, but I liked watching the Florida Gators under Steve Spurrier because he was throwing the ball all over the place. And the diversity of his play calling and offensive minded, I really want to, I want to really pick players that maybe are playing under Steve Spurrier for, wide receivers. And I think they have a player named Frankie Hammond. But they have like 12 former Florida Gators, but that's going to be an opened up offense. The Arizona Hotshots is supposed to have a really great defense. You might want to look at their defense. So does the Orlando Apollos. They should have a really good probably the best two defensive teams. Will Hill, they have some former NFL players, and they should be rather good. But you have to be careful with defensive-minded coaches that predominantly, like the three I was mentioning to you, like Birmingham Iron, Memphis Express, Singletary played a lot of seasons in the NFL, but as a defensive player, you have to look at their offensive, coordinators and what experience they have, because if you have a wide receiver, and I think even Kevin Cole, they have two great quarterbacks, Aaron Murray, and they have the whole idea behind it is some of these players have more than one quarterback, and he's like, I want to play both quarterbacks. He was saying last week, and that would be bad if you picked Aaron Murray. Although I really feel Aaron Murray is a good pick because I think he's going to win the job. definitely. So I would definitely consider him. The backup is Matt Sims, by the way. I would definitely consider him because he should be. But again, this is a coach. He has a lot of you know. Well, not Kevin Coral. Kevin Coral actually had a lot of experience in the NFL too with the Bengals, but he's a defensive-minded coach, and you have to take that into consideration. But I would really look at some of the players on Steve Spurrier, wide receivers, running backs, and I really like the San Diego Fleet because it has Mike Martz, the greatest show on turf. If you remember the Los Angeles Rams, and he's an offensive-minded coach, and there's some other coaches that have head coaching experience and offensive-minded coaches. Dennis Erickson won 2 championships in Miami. They had a nice running team back then, the Hurricanes. But I really like Mike Martz, and he has running back like Bishop Sankey, and things like that. And I really like the idea of Mike Baravici, which is the quarterback for the San Diego Fleet. And this guy really never got his chance in the NFL, and this guy can throw. I mean, he's got an arm. I mean, he could throw it all over the place. And their quarterback was going to be Josh Johnson, but you know what? He went back to the NFL, and I really like Mike Baravici. I think he's going to have a huge year. Watch video of him. He's got a cannon of an arm, and I just think they're going to really open up the offense and things of that nature. And you should really look at him. They also have Gavin Escobar, at tight end, which he played with Dallas. He played with a few players, but I really like Gavin Escobar. He's watch tape on him as well. I mean, the guy runs really, really good routes. He's extremely hard to tackle, and he's got really good hands. But, a player that would probably, I would even put before him is Thomas Duarte. He plays on the Arizona Hotshots. And talk about a guy that runs really well, extremely athletic. He has, experience at a professional level. Had a little problem getting injured and stuff like that, but what a talent this guy is. So I really like those two tight ends, Gavin Escobar, Thomas Duarte. Duarte's a really good athlete and has tremendous hands. A kicker, you could go with Nick Folk for Arizona. They have a good defense. They're going to move the ball. They want to run the ball a lot and stuff. It might work out well for the kicker as far as field goes. But you also in Arizona, Josh Huff. He is also a great crossing player, like those plays where it's thrown over the middle, but like further down the field, like 30, 40, down on crossing routes is, the term I like to use. Really, and like screens, really good at screens. I mean, the guy is a wide receiver that has running back skills. Like, he's hard to tackle. And I think he's going to also have a pretty good year as well. So, I mean, that's basically it. We'll learn more as we go. It's been, I think it's going to be a really successful league as I do the XFL the following year. And it gives us more to talk about and more football. So this is Dean Curry. And so have yourself a wonderful day and keep subscribing because we have more football for you every single week.